You know it.
What do you know?
You tell the story.
What story is that?
You tell the whole damn world this is bear territory.
Somebody had to say it.
Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World. We've got a really fun one for you today. It's Monday, December 29th, 2025. New Year's Eve is almost upon us, and it's another great day to be a bear. I'm your host, Reza Serafinijad. We appreciate you tuning in. And before we get started, I want to sincerely thank all of you out there who have been following us and helping us grow this podcast. I hope all of you have a happy new year and are enjoying the holidays with your loved ones. We're the podcast that celebrates all things Cal. We produce on-camera interviews with the prominent people associated with UC Berkeley, known to many as the center of the universe. And we share stories about the rich history and traditions of the University of California. We hope to put a smile on your face and help you come away feeling good about your connection to the greatest university on the planet. And if you have a little time over the holidays, we would love it if you would go to tellthewholedamnworld.com and click on our episode library to watch the previous episodes we've done over the past year. We've interviewed some really entertaining guests like Nate Longshore, Russell White, Ron and Stephanie Rivera, Jeff MacArthur, Mike Silver, Joe Starkey, Roxy Bernstein, and the first woman to be the general manager of an NFL team, Amy Trask. And that's just to name a few. And if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. That really helps us get more attention and grows our audience. A bigger audience means we can get bigger guests. We just went over 700 subscribers on YouTube, and we're excited about taking this podcast to the next level in the new year. In today's episode, we're going to spend some time getting reacquainted with two wonderfully hilarious Cal personalities who many of you may remember from the early 1990s. Chris and Steve were so passionate about Cal and our sports teams that they started their very own Cal TV show. Long before ESPN started doing funny sports-related commercials, they were doing sports comedy on their show called Bear Territory. In fact, it isn't an exaggeration to say that Chris and Steve originated the entire concept of mixing sports and comedy together. We've got so much good stuff from them, we're breaking this into a two-part episode. I'm going to bring in my co-host, Ahmad Anderson, the man who created the Bear Territory chant when he was part of the 1982 Cal football team, and we're going to lead into our interview with a short 5-minute highlight reel of some of Chris and Steve's best moments from Bear Territory.
Let's go back to some of that footage to when this show used to be called Bear Territory. It was only 3 years ago.
How's Cal football going to do?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Well, let me tell you on a sliding scale. Cal football, how they're going to do, this guy wants to know.
This is an important question.
Unless they repent of their sins and perish, they'll all burn in hell.
Is this working? Okay. Coach Bozeman and the rest of the players have asked me to come out and field a few questions. They pretty much felt that it was my fault we lost tonight. I felt that was a rather harsh assessment.
Over here by the San Jose State bench and breathing air around here, let me tell you, it's no bed of petunias.
You feel like a caged animal?
No,
Do you think the Bruins will feel like caged animals?
no.
I just want to say, whatever happens here today, I'll always love you.
Here at the Rose Bowl, UCLA likes to use these nets behind the goalposts to catch field goal kicks and extra point kicks. But what you won't hear them talking about is how many dolphins get trapped in these things every year.
And what's your name?
April Edwards.
April Edwards. That's a very nice name. Is that the name you were born with, April?
Yes.
You born in April?
No, I was born in July.
Does that cause any sort of schizophrenia? Okay, who do you think's going to win?
France.
And you?
UCLA.
Oh, so far no one's picked Cal. I'm surprised. What do you think?
UCLA.
Well, I'm surprised. You went to SC?
I did. I got all three.
Is it true that you basically just have to put your money down and they give you a diploma down there, or how does that work? Coach Robinson? Well, what about this Cal team has you worried?
No, I'm not Coach Robinson. I'm Oscar Mendoza. I'm not the coach.
Oh, you're not? Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. Who's going to win today?
UCLA.
Oh, no doubt. Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Little doubt, maybe.
No,
Sensing a little doubt in your eyes.
no, you messed. No, that wasn't doubt. That was confidence.
Do you feel there's that sort of Romeo and Juliet thing going on with us? You're with SC and I'm with Cal, and we're never going to get to be together.
Yeah, she knows.
Halloween was last week, I think. It's all out of the bag. We know all about the Satanism thing going on here. Just tell me this. Have any virgins made it out of the stadium alive?
How long have you guys been down here?
About 2 years.
Wow, you came down early for the game.
Yeah. We like to get it.
No wonder you got such good seats.
Sir, does SC generally prefer to use checks to try to pay you off, or do they use credit card, or how do they go about doing that? But any Rainbows hit Dave Bar late, we can get them off the field, throw them in the slammer.
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me, sir, I was wondering if you could tell me what the inside of Bill Walsh's hip pocket looked like.
I have no idea.
Oh, baby, love the way you dance. Oh, baby.
Hello again, everyone. Joe Fonzie with Matt Boozer welcoming you to today's game. And Boozer, we've seen this.
And this is Steve from Bear Territory. How you doing, guys? Remember you said that maybe I could come by sometime? Well,
This isn't the best time right now.
I'm here. Surprised?
As we were saying,
Can we use that thing for a while? You guys have been hogging it all night.
Some of those old clips sure look funny now, huh? Yeah. Boy, you've really aged. Like gotten older, you mean? Yeah, I guess that's what I was saying. Yeah. Like a fine cheese or something. Huh? Old cheese, I guess, it would be a good metaphor. Yeah. So is it true that like some television schools and film schools are using these historical clips as instructional things? Oh yeah, NYU and UCLA. That's pretty cool. What a compliment.
Let me take you on a trip back in time to the early 1990s when I was a Cal student. Those were some very good times to be in Berkeley. In football, we were lucky enough to witness a 10-win football season and a 37-13 thrashing of Clemson in a New Year's Day bowl game with Mike Pawlowski and Russell White. And 2 years later, we saw a 9-win football season with Dave Barr and Jarrett Willard, culminating with a 37-3 wipeout of Iowa in the Alamo Bowl. The men's basketball team with Jason Kidd and Lamont Murray beat two-time defending national champion Duke in the NCAA tournament to make it to the Sweet 16. Cal baseball made it to the College World Series. Men's water polo won 3 straight national championships. And Cal rugby began a run of 12 straight national championships. Memorial Stadium and Harmon Gym were regularly packed with students. Ken Montgomery, Eddie Kleinhans, and Frank Winton were legendary mic men who rallied the crowds into frenzies. There was an emphasis on diversity. There were People's Park protests. And being Berkeley, there was, of course, some zaniness. Andrew Martinez, the UC Berkeley student known as the Naked Guy, brought national headlines for wearing nothing more than a backpack and sandals to class. And we had a wonderful and remarkably charismatic chancellor who was adored by the students named Chancellor Chang Lin Tian. It was a colorful and vibrant time to be a Cal student. And if you were there during those times, you likely share all of those same memories. And one thing that made those times even more fun was a little-known TV show called Bear Territory. Long before the algorithm and social media memes, there was Chris Frieden and Steve White. Did I say your name right there, Chris?
You sure did. I
All
like
right.
little known.
Okay, good.
Accurate. Accurate.
Accurate. Two best friends who were passionate about Cal and made a dynamite comedic team. Together, they breathed their very own Cal-themed TV show into life, featuring hilarious scenes revolving around Cal athletics. Mind you, this was in an era when everything was on tape. You didn't have video editing software and had to buy professional-grade equipment to edit tape. You had to carry a large camera around, and Chris and Steve spent countless hours editing and producing the show on public access television. People started to notice them, newspaper articles were written about them, and word spread. They were picked up by Sports Channel, had sponsorships, and the show went national. But even with sponsorship from Power Bar and others, it was a very expensive undertaking. They ran through every nickel they had, and then some, to make it all happen. To say this was a labor of love would be quite an understatement. But the show was a hit among Cal fans who couldn't wait for each new episode. Chris and Steve were witty and masterful at improvisation. From awkward moments with opposing teams' cheerleaders, tailgate shenanigans, comedic pregame talks at the 50-yard line with refs, performing their song, Little Cardinal Girl, at the bonfire rally, and downright hilarious bits with football and basketball players, Chris and Steve hit on something that had universal appeal among Cal fans. In all, between Bear Territory and Out of Bounds, a nationwide show they put together, they produced over 100 episodes. For those of us at Cal during that magical time, we'll always very fondly remember the humor they brought to all of us. We couldn't be more pleased to welcome Chris and Steve to the show today. Thank you both so much for making the time.
No, thank you. It's really awesome to do it. Yeah.
Thanks,
That was
Reza.
awesome.
What an intro. I just want to say, little known was very accurate. Best friends. Otherwise, yeah, great.
Yeah, wow, that you brought back some memories. That was awesome. I got to ask a quick question. The baseball team was Troy Penix on that team, or was that later?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ah,
That's right. Yeah, he
nice.
was pretty good. Yeah, first game I went to as a Cal fan, the Cal baseball game, I sat right behind home plate. I couldn't believe it because you could get any seat you wanted. And it was a pitch right over the middle, and Penix just leaned into it, and it was like, oh my God, the metal bat just echoing all over everywhere. It
Was Roxy doing play-by-play?
I think he was. For
Yeah.
Calix. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
All
right.
right, man. You reminded me, we still had Harmon Jim, at least in 93, right?
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
I feel bad for people who didn't get to experience Harmon Jim.
Right. Yeah.
That was a special place, man.
That's right. You could be right there on the baseline. It was so good.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, Ahmad, I think you got the first question here, right?
Here we go. So first and foremost, I want to welcome you to tell the whole damn world that it's so exciting that you all, with This Is Bear Territory show, it just takes me over the moon. But it has wakened this bear to ask you several questions today, and I know you're going to be full of a variety of comedy, but inside facts that will woo the crowd out there in Bear Territory. So you both are originally from the East Coast. How did you each end up at Cal, and how did two of you all meet? The funny part for me before we get into this, I remember sitting around the house and I got my letter getting into Cal, and I called my family who haven't lived into the great state of Massachusetts, Boston specifically, and said to them, Milton, Mass, and said to them, hey, I got into Cal. Expecting to be so excited, although I did take a trip to Harvard and I did take a trip to Brown, they said to me, that's a nice school.
Yeah.
So, how did you get here, and why did you get here, and how did you meet?
Yeah, I'll go first because just step on Chris's toes for a second.
I was actually born in San Francisco, but grew up on the East Coast. My dad's a Watsonville guy, and he went to Cal, and he was a big time Cal fan. He worked at the Lair the Bear with Mike White, so he and Mike White were tight. And because of that, he was a huge Cal football fan. So, I saw my first games as a little kid. We'd go back to California to visit relatives, and my dad would try to plan it so we could catch a Cal game. I think we also went to an East Coast game, Cal Army in the 70s, I think. Anyway, so I was already indoctrinated, I guess. But yeah, like you, Ahmad, when like I was in high school in Connecticut, I told people I was going to Cal. First of all, they don't know what Cal means. You have to explain it's UC Berkeley. And then pretty much the reaction I got every time was like, don't do too many drugs. To the East Coast set, it was all about, it was just the drug hippie school. But yeah, I was excited to go to Cal. Chris, I think, also had some California time growing up.
Yeah, so I was born in Ohio, but grew up. I lived all over the place. When I was 15, I had lived in 13 different places, all over the place. But I settled in Santa Barbara, and I was all set to go to UCSB. I had my dorm room picked out and everything. I was on the wait list for Cal, and about 2 weeks before classes started, I got a letter saying I'd been accepted to Cal. And it's funny, the whole branding discussions that go around Cal, Berkeley, even in Santa Barbara, I faced that because I got into Cal and I didn't know what that was. I myself did not know Cal, Berkeley. I knew Joe Roth and Chuck Muncie, and I'd watched them play football, and I didn't know that that was the same school. And it was actually my dad who said, that's a really good school. You're super lucky you got in. And so I went up and looked at it about 2 weeks before classes started, and I was completely intimidated. And that's why I went. I went because I was scared to go there. Santa Barbara was really an easy choice. My girlfriend at the time was going to UCSB. I was all set, and I just thought there's some kind of a challenge about going to this place that scared the hell out of me. I remember the first time I walked down Telegraph, I was overwhelmed, but I immediately fell in love. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Telegraph will definitely overwhelm you. I mean, especially it's a culture shock if you're not used to seeing what you see out there on Telegraph Avenue. But I think there's some kind of an interesting story about how the two of you met, right?
Yes. Now, Steve will dispute this. Steve will dispute this, but this is the accurate version. I was rowing lightweight crew at Cal, and the practices would be very early in the morning. We'd get dropped off on campus. And you'd get there at like 8 in the morning or something like that after rowing out there on the estuary. It could get cold out there. Basketball season was rolling around, and back then, there'd be the line outside of Harmon to be able to buy your student tickets, and people would line up in the morning. It was a real big deal. And so my girlfriend at the time went and stood in line for me because I was at crew practice, and then I was going to take her place to buy my ticket. And when I show up, this guy's chatting her up. And so they're talking and kind of ignoring me. And so I just really disliked this guy. And he played drums for the jazz, what's it called? UC Jazz.
UC Jazz Ensembles.
Yeah. And so I would always refer to him as that little drummer boy to her. But as I started to go to away football games, away basketball games, he was a familiar face. I'd see him at every sporting event. And so grudgingly, I started sitting closer and closer to him. And then we kind of started talking, and I realized we just had a ton in common. And we just pretty much started going to every sporting event together. But
That's close. That's close. It's, she was chatting me up is the actual story. So... she gave me her number, whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We had a lunch date, except she didn't introduce us in line. And I was under the impression it was a lunch date, but to her, it was just hanging out with a new buddy she just met. And Chris came to pick her up and gave me the stink eye, like at the end of the lunch date. And I was like, oh, wait, okay. I misread this.
Which is a common theme for us.
Yeah. No. We had yeah, you had to get up super early. I think some people slept out overnight because it was Harmon, so there was what 6,000 something seats. So student tickets would, if you weren't there super early in the morning, you weren't going to get a season pass. And my buddy Tim and I flew up to Washington on a whim that weekend on some super saver flight to go watch Cal play the Huskies. You know, they whomped us. It was an ugly game. It was a zipper game. It was where Joe Cap undid a zipper in the press room after the game. And then the next week at the home game, the Cal students were chanting "Win one for the zipper."
Right.
That was it was not a good game to fly up to Washington for. But we'd flown back as early as we could to get in that line for those Harmon tickets.
Yeah. I mean, Harmon was, I mean, that's the thing that I don't think any of the current students can even really imagine. But Harmon Gym was a lot smaller than Haas Pavilion, seated about 6,500 people. And for the students, you had to get there early to just even get into the games. So there was a line that was always out there, and especially with the rise of the basketball program at that time. But we'll get into that.
It was louder than the current.
Yes.
I mean, I think.
Right.
Half the people much louder. Just
absolutely. And you could be right there on the baseline. So you could be right in the ear of opposing player trying to inbound the ball and yelling anything you wanted at him. I mean, it was kind of
if you were on
chaotic.
If you're on that first row, you're standing on the court and you had to step aside if someone was inbounding the ball to give them room. It was insane.
Right. Well, hey, I think that was just a great story about how you guys met. And you guys are still like super fast friends today, right? You got best man at wedding and all that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Steve was best man at my wedding. We talk almost every day, I'd say. Yeah, we've remained friends for the whole duration.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. So, hey, we usually get around to this question a little bit later on in the interview, but it just kind of occurs to me. I mean, I just have to kind of know what makes Cal such a special place to you, and where does your love for Cal come from?
Wow. Can I go first on this one, Steve?
Fuck. Okay.
You can't swear on the show.
Oh, sorry. Fudge. I'll flip, to quote Mendoza. Flip.
Well, so when I went to Cal, I was a pretty sheltered kid. Even though I had lived in a lot of different places in the U.S., I hadn't been exposed to half the things I would get exposed to at Cal. And so sports was kind of a gateway for me to find out all kinds of different things about myself and about the world. I mean, you outlined it so well at the beginning. I feel like I lucked out and was at Cal at a really magical time. The political activism was something I'd never seen before. Students sleeping out on the stairs of Sproul, like that inspired me. And just walking through Sproul with all the tables. I had 3 student jobs when I was there. I was juggling a lot. I was a student. I was on Lightweight Crew. I was in student musicals. I was a co-editor of the Lampoon magazine. I went all in. And so I was just super excited. It was totally different, became a totally different person at Cal. And so, sports, rooting for all the different Cal sports teams was also like rooting for the place, the community, and the transformation that I had gone through. It was all one big bundled thing. So, I mean, it's inseparable. It's my identity. I still, when I meet people, I went to Cal, and if they know what that means, we have instant connection. I was working in my yard here in Maine, minus 17 degrees this morning, by the way. I was working in my yard last week, and a guy walks by and he just goes, "Go Bears," because I have a Cal banner in my front yard that Steve gave me. And he said his whole family went to Cal, and he's the local fireman, and he went to Cal. And I just get these funny little moments. There's a huge guy who rides this tiny little scooter around my town. He was a lineman at Cal. And so you just bump into people in Europe, in the oddest places, who have gone here, and just instant connection of this shared experience here. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
I think Chris just wanted to get in that he works outside and he's a tough guy, and it's 17 below. That's what that story was about. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I mentioned before. I was already a Cal fan, especially the sports. I remember again I grew up in the East Coast, and you could not find Pac-10, Pac-8 back then football on television. Maybe USC would get a game once in a while, but otherwise, not even in the papers. Like the scores came in too late. Like, so you didn't even you might get just the line, the score, but that was about it. And I remember one winter, my family, we went on a little ski trip to a friend of my dad's place who belonged to a little ski lodge or something, and we found out it wasn't a Cal game, but it was that year that if SC beat UCLA, we would have gone to the Rose Bowl. And the SC UCLA game was going to be televised, and my dad talked the manager of the lodge, into opening it up after when it was closed, just to let us in to watch this SC UCLA game, in hopes that the outcome would be Cal going to the Rose Bowl, and we didn't make it. So I mean, that's just an example of the kind of environment. Like my dad, we drove down to DC because the only way you could experience the big game was if someone paid to have the radio feed piped in. They called it piped in. I don't know what that means. But with the closest place we could do it was like a 4-hour drive down to DC to a Cal Stanford party that had the radio broadcast piped in for big game. So I was already into it, but kind of similar to Chris, like when I first visited camp, I'd been on campus as a kid, but when I first went as a young adult or a teenager visiting colleges, I was so blown away by just the energy. You step onto campus and the excitement and this buzz. I remember we visited 5 or 6 schools on the West Coast. None of them had it. We visited Stanford, and it was just zero energy. Now I'm not just knocking Stanford. I have friends who went to Stanford, and I think we have a symbiotic relationship. I want to respect them. For a flower to flourish, it needs manure. So, no knock. But yeah, no, nothing there. But at Cal, it was just vibrating, and so colorful. So just the architecture, just all kinds of different styles of buildings, and the beautiful campus, every kind of person and persuasion and religion and political view, and on and on. Just yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was sold. But like Chris, I didn't get in right away. I got a letter saying I could do this 2-and-2 thing they had going, which is 2 years at Santa Cruz and then 2 years at Berkeley. And so I wrote back and said, yeah, I'll do that. And then I got a letter saying, just get over here.
Well, I tell you, that is, as someone who worked there after graduating in the College of Letters and Science and serving on the admissions committee and special action admissions, you hear stories like that. The stories you hear in the letters, why I want to go to Cal. Everything that you have described, from the campus itself, but the greater Berkeley community, that in a weird, berserkly way, made you feel home away from home. Like that place we call Berkeley is waiting for you, individually, and being able to find, as you all, Chris and Steve, did, one another, as being there in the same time, same period. But Reza and I, old man that I am, light years different, this is what Berkeley's all about. That right there is really a testament to what Bear Territory is all about. And with what you've said, it just begs the question: what inspired you to create the show Bear Territory? I mean, you didn't just say, "Oh, let's just do something." You ramped it up. Share with the world what that was like and how you got there and how you're here today with us.
Steve, I'll let you tell that story, but first I want to respond to what you said. I think you said it really well there. I would adjust one thing, at least for me, was I don't think that Berkeley, I found a home there, or that I found a place for me. I feel like I didn't know who I was until I went to Cal. It was a place where I discovered myself, and it became a home so totally different from my actual home.
Gotcha.
That it transformed me. So, I think that's the real power of Berkeley, is its ability to unlock you.
Ahmad, I also want to say, you mentioned Berkeley. Like on my first trip as a visiting, high school senior, I bought there used to be that guy on Telegraph selling the tie-dye shirts with the clouds. It said Berkeley, and it was all hippie. And I bought one of those and just wore it around high school all the time. And yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure the LSD just soaked into your system. So you had to come back for the fix. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how they get you. That's how they get you.
What's going on?
Yeah. But to answer your question, as Chris mentioned before, like we kind of bonded. We became friends over Cal football and basketball. Road trips, going to games. My first year, our first year out of Cal, that's when I got to know Chris, and he and the aforementioned girlfriend were still together.
Here we go.
I would join them every Saturday at the game and watch the game with them.
1, 2, 3. This guy's out. What are you doing? Chris, you set yourself up.
No, I knew the score by then.
That's too many men on the field. Too many men on the field. Flag.
I knew the score. I was just a little side character. But yeah, so that's how we got to know each other. And later on, I was living in a house on North Side with a couple other Cal young alum buddies, and a room opened up, and Chris needed a room, and we had him move in. And then one summer we've both been into the creative arts, whether it's writing or, for me, playing music. Chris was in the whole video world and writing and comedy. So one summer we just wanted to do something creative, and I think it was Chris's idea. It's like, we love Cal sports. Let's go up to, where was camp? Was it Turlock? Yeah. He's like, let's get a camera and go up to Turlock, and
I'm going to add some color here. I mean, you have certain crystal clear moments in your life. And I remember the moment we decided to do Bear Territory. You were sitting on a couch. I was standing there. And Steve had that summer been saying, I just want to do some interesting venture. We should start a business. He was like always talking about that. And I remember he was sitting on the couch and he said, I've got these 3 credit cards. I've got this credit limit. Let's do something with this. And then I remember saying, well, what if we went and got a camera and went up and shot practice up at Turlock and just did something with that. It was that loosey-goosey.
So financially dumb.
Yeah. And we went to Good Guys.
Unbelievable.
And we bought stuff, and they had the 30-day return policy.
They had 30-day return, yeah. So if it didn't go well, we did take that camera back. We took it back on like day 29, and man, they were not happy about it. Like, they say 30-day, no questions asked, but they asked
There
questions.
were a lot of questions.
Pulled you in the back room, spotlight on you.
They were not happy about that. But we got the full refund, and then we started renting a camera from East Bay Media.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had gone up to Turlock. We didn't really have any plan. We just shot stuff that was happening there. And we had then talked to the local Berkeley Public Access, asked them if we could put something on. And they gave us a 30-minute time slot. We didn't really have 30 minutes of material. We just had stuff that was going on at practice. So we just kind of started pointing the camera at ourselves and goofing off. And then we went into San Francisco and pulled an all-nighter and somehow edited this into a 30-minute something and gave it to the public access channel, and they aired it. And I mean, it was rough. And then they said it was hilarious. They liked it. And we were only going to do one 30-minute show. And then became obvious that we could do this on a weekly basis. And we had the camera for 30 days. So we said, all right, we'll do 4 because we've got the camera for 4 weeks. So we just started filming. And I think our main motivation was we then talked to the athletic department and they said they would give us 2 field passes to make the show. So we, at that first, I think we were just doing the show to get the field passes.
Yeah. We were pretty starstruck by like Cal players. Cal athletes were like celebrities, and the just the idea that we could go on the field was like nuts.
Yeah. No. That's amazing stuff just to hear how the origin story of how it all came together. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yes, after we switched to renting the camera, we just continued to do week by week, and we did 36 shows that first year, doing football and basketball. We started to make friends with some of the players. I think that year was the year the Bear Territory chant up at the Greek Theater. We were there when you introduced the cheer to the Cal fans, and that was a moment. You owned the crowd that night. That was incredible. And it's unfortunately, we don't have a bonfire rally at all. We used to have 2 a year. I think a lot of people don't remember that.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know that. They don't do the bonfire rally anymore?
They do. It's just it's a little different than how it used to be.
They don't have a fire?
You
can't have a bonfire.
Instead of throwing wood in, they throw the freshmen in. So.
They do have a fire. It's just a little more under control compared to what we remember.
Oh, man.
But makes some sense given all the threat of wildfire and all that stuff.
Yeah,
of course.
It's true. But back in the day,
if you were freshmen running through the fire when it was low in the beginning, they'd run. I was like, this dude is crazy.
I mean, back in the day, if you were anywhere in the Greek Theater, it was hot as heck. You had to turn your face away.
Yes.
It got so
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right. Oh, I remember that. I remember my first time going to the bonfire rally, and I'm all like, why are all these people sitting way back? And I just sat way up front, and it was like, whoosh. It was like my eyebrows.
Yeah. It was crazy. 93 was the year they first brought down the level of the fire a little bit. I mean, it used to be insane. And then 93, because we did a show where we were interviewing the firemen, giving them a hard time because the fire wasn't as big anymore.
Right.
And they were like, dude,
Well, the interesting thing about that bonfire rally was we go out, and it had to be the Stanford game, or one of those. Stanford, UCLA, those are the 2 bonfires. And Coach Cap, he comes out, and he says, it's his first bonfire rally since he left Cal, the first time as a coach. So he's super duper excited about the moment. He walks in, folks, we're behind the coach of the 1982 California Golden Bears, Joe Cap. He walks out there smiling, grinning. He's got his varsity jacket on. He's still fitting. He's fired up. And he goes, blah, 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 blah. Then he says, give me a C. And I'm standing right next to him. And he looks at me with this grin like, and it seemed like it probably took an hour and nothing came out. And I jumped in and said, give me an A. And I look at him, he's still smiling. Hey, give me a, what's this, man? Who's the way? Who we? Ow! And I look over at him, he's still smiling. So I'd walk into the business office last year, and I go in there to the football office, and one of the guys from the media group goes, give me a C. And I go, yeah. I walk down the hall. Somebody says, give me a C. Only find out they had recorded that, and they have that And they said that was a classic moment where Joe was just so enamored to be there. So when we talk about Bear territory, it gets even the greatest of all of our Bear fans. Yep.
Well, since we're lingering in this time period, we've been touching on things that made you an eternal Cal fan, and I have to say that Big Game '82 sealed the deal for me. I was born on the campus of Ohio State. Both my parents went to Ohio State, so I grew up watching Ohio State, Michigan religiously every Saturday. That kind of got me hooked on college football. And my dad was as big a Ohio State fan as I eventually became a Cal fan. And when in '82, I was a freshman, and my dad wanted to come see what this Cal football was all about, and he wanted to visit his son. So it was the first time he had come to visit me at college. So my dad, my mom, and my brother, we all went to Big Game '82, the four of us. And
wow,
it just is, my dad has since passed, and I will just always treasure that moment because that end of the game was just so unbelievable. When they shot the cannon off, I jumped up in the air and I didn't realize I'd also jumped forward. And I landed about 3 or 4 rows out and I just tumbled. I ended up spraining my ankle. And it's just, our whole family was just gaga over what we had just witnessed. And I remember my dad's voice was completely hoarse and he was rooting for Cal as much as he ever rooted for Ohio State. And he said, "All right, this rivalry's as good as Ohio State, Michigan." He just couldn't believe what he had just seen. And we went to Spangers, which I don't think exists anymore, for brunch the next morning. And the whole bathroom was plastered with the articles from Big Game. And it was all anyone was talking about in town. And I just remember standing at the urinal, reading the articles in the bathroom, and guys are like all peeing in the urinals, looking over, talking to each other. "Do you see the game?" Really? It's all anybody could talk about. So I just bonded my family too. So that was another,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, brother. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, the two of you make such a great comedic team. Where does your knack for comedy come from?
Well, Chris is still learning. I keep sending him books. I guess he hasn't had time to read them.
My take on it is that we became fast friends and we had this common interest in Cal sports. And really, our comedy just was born of the same things I think any Cal fan says while they're sitting in the stands, at then Harmon or in Memorial. I think that was kind of our intent was there's so many bitter things that Cal fans say, so many people, so many ways people deal with, clutching defeat from the jaws of victory that we kind of just started saying and doing the things that we were already doing and hearing all around us. But I think also at another level is he and I are opposites in some ways in that Steve is great on camera and really has an uncanny ability to be unflinching in the most uncomfortable situations. And I have a tendency during interviews or on camera stuff to be smiling the whole time and very agreeable. And Steve can just keep a straight face. So the way we typically worked was I would be on camera whenever it was an interview type situation. And oftentimes I would feed him lines to say, and I think in a way that took the pressure off for him. It wasn't his fault that he was saying it. And he could just stand in there and ask these questions, these really uncomfortable questions. And I did more character stuff. So I was able to be goofy. So I think we had different comedic skill sets. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I'll say, no, I agree with a lot of that. I'll say, those uncomfortable interviews, I hated doing. I was terrified.
Really?
Chris would be like whispering to me or like signals to ask a question. And I was like, I can't do that. And he's just go, he's filming and I just suck it up. A lot of times I think I was good at not showing it, but I was like terrified. Like that cop at the Stanford Big Game our first year. Like I asked him something and I think he turned to me and said, "Why are you bugging me? I don't bug you when you're flipping burgers and turning fries." And I just wanted to run. I just wanted to hightail it out of there.
comfortable moment we ever had. I think Steve will agree with this. I still don't know how he did it. We were outside in the hallway trying to make the other one do it. But when Jason Kidd was announcing that he was going to go pro, it happened to be his birthday. And we were going to try and make a last-ditch effort to have him not go pro and come back for another year. So we had this huge sheet cake made, and we had found out what his favorite kind of cake was. So we made this huge birthday cake and had written on the top, what was it, something, you know, 1 more year, something on the top, like something like that. Anyway, and so Steve, this was national news. The press room at Cal, ESPN was there, like every national
trucks, it was
network.
live.
It was just packed like I've never seen before. All the cameras were set up, and it was super tense. We hadn't really had a Cal player of that stature going pro and making an announcement like that. So it was very tense. Cal Media Relations was really uptight and stressed out. And Steve goes walking through the crowd singing happy birthday, carrying this cake up to Jason Kidd.
Like just before he's about to announce. In my mind, everyone was going to join in and sing along. I thought it was going to be great. Nobody joined in.
It was so awkward. And Jason was sitting there going, this is the biggest moment of my life, and you're screwing it up. And he was just looking at Steve like, what the hell are you doing, man? And
I don't think he cared that much. I'll tell you who loved it was his dad.
His dad loved it.
His dad's like, can I take this home? It's your son's.
But it's pretty funny if you look back at the old footage of him making his announcement. This huge cake is sitting in front of him.
Yeah. If you look up the footage, there's this cake sitting in front of him.
Wow.
That was definitely the most uncomfortable. Because when we started our show, there was no hybrid of comedy and sports. They were completely separate. It wasn't until a couple of years later that ESPN started doing those commercials, having athletes play roles, and suddenly athletes were asked to be comedians or be in skits or guest appearances on Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. When we started our show, joking around in the locker room or after a game was like forbidden. Like it was really stressful sometimes trying to bring a little bit of humor to the situation.
That is amazing. So, like, you guys are total trendsetters, right? I mean, you take a look at how wildly successful and funny those ESPN comedic bits are. And to think that you guys were doing this back in the 1990s. Yeah. I mean, that is amazing. It just goes to show all things come back to Cal, right? Cal's the center of the universe.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, at one point, we were in conversation. We got picked up by, I don't know if anybody knows this, but at one point we got picked up by creative artists who were representing us, and they were shopping our show. And so we were in conversations with ESPN, picking up Bear Territory, making it a national show. And we were at the ESPN headquarters at one point, and Greg Kilborn was there.
I'm sorry.
Where was it? Where was that?
Yeah, it was Comedy Central.
Okay, so, that's right.
Comedy Central, we asked for a meeting with us. They call them general meetings. That just means like a get to know you. We're thinking we're going to sell our show to them. They don't really have an interest. They just want to meet new people or whatever. So we walk in, we meet. It's like the top guy, like the creative director, whatever. I don't know what the title is, but the top programming exec meets with us, and we're in his big office, and he's got his feet up in the desk, and we're telling him about the show, and he's like, yeah, well, we're not really interested in that. It's like, let me think. You know what? We're working on this. We're developing this show. We think we're going to call it The Daily Show. And we got this guy, Craig Kilborn from ESPN, is going to host it. Let me call him. And he gets on the phone, and he's like, Craig, can you come in here a sec? And Craig Kilborn walks in, and he sees us, and he gives us, Craig Kilborn's so snide, and that's his whole gimmick. He looks at us and he goes, "Oh, you guys, you're the guys that do that pee pee caca show."
Wow.
And we're like, "Wow, okay, off to a great start." So like the whole meeting with him, we're just trading barbs, we're just sniping at each other.
But he was like one of the first to start adding comedy at ESPN at the time, and it was interesting to know that he had been watching our show, which we didn't know. So that
and to his credit, his ESPN commercials were hilarious. Like he was one of the first guys, and
So maybe he took something from you guys by watching.
Maybe
all that
he
stuff,
likes pee-pee caca humor.
He's the pee-pee cocky man. That's him.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things looking back in hindsight is that, correct me if I'm wrong again, Steve, but at that point, the conversation was kind of like about us being the sports reporters on The Daily Show. And we didn't realize what a huge opportunity that was. In retrospect, that would have been huge. And we kind of thought, oh, well, they don't want to take our
we totally blew it. We just blew that one. They asked us to send video. They said, can you send us some sample video on what you could do with the show? And so Chris and I shot sketches, which is crazy because they told us this is a news show. We're already doing the thing they want, like live interviews. For some reason, we decided to film like comedy sketches and send them that. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's funny, but this is not, we're doing reporting on actual news. And we were just like, well, like I would go back and just kick our asses and say, dude, well, send them new tape. Do what they asked for.
We dropped the ball so many times.
Wow. I mean, that is some history. I mean, you think about how long The Daily Show has been on air, and this is long before Jon Stewart even, right? So it's that's pretty cool. Wow. So much good stuff, right? If you enjoyed that, you're definitely going to want to tune in to part 2 next Monday. That wraps up our final episode of 2025. We'll see you in the new year. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sincerely appreciate all of you out there listening and watching. I hope all of you have a wonderful New Year's. And remember, if you live in Richmond, please give your vote to my co-host, Ahmad Anderson, to be the next mayor of Richmond. He's picking up endorsements left and right, and there's no question he will do amazing things as mayor of the city of pride and purpose. This podcast is entirely a labor of love and a reflection of how much we love our university. Please help grow this podcast by telling the whole damn world about us. Just tell all your friends to go to tellthewholedamnworld.com. We celebrate all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!